I'm going to show you how to learn French when you don't have much time, using a few simple cheat codes that will make the whole process feel faster straight away. After 25 years of learning and teaching languages and even writing a few books in French myself, I've realized that French really is one of the most generous languages for English speakers if you know where to look. So in this video, I'm giving you 7 cheat codes that will make French feel easier almost straight away. You'll learn what to focus on, what to ignore, and how to start speaking French even if you've only got a few minutes a day. So let's start with the easiest win there is, and this is always the first thing I tell students about because it's the closest thing to a free lunch that you're ever going to get in languages, which is that if you speak English, then you already know a huge number of French words. We're talking at least 10,000 words that you already know just sitting in your head. See, when your eyes land on anything written in French for the first time, when you're new to the language, it can look intimidating, those strange spellings and little accents on the words. And the reason is that our brain focuses on stuff that is new and unrecognizable. And we look at these different bits and think, man, this language is hard. We ignore the mountain of things that we already know and we already do recognize. To demonstrate this, let's try this sentence here. Just read this along with me. Le Festival International de Musique Moderne est absolument fantastique. Now, if you hear this spoken, it might sound a bit different, but if you look at the words, then you're going to notice quite a lot of patterns. This is a French newspaper headline, and okay, I made it up to prove the point, but if I ask you if you understood any of what you read, I bet you did. You might even have understood the whole thing, even if you've never learned any French before. And the reason this works goes back 1,000 years. The Normans, our friends, who were these Frenchified Vikings, they showed up in England with their swords and crossbows, brought old French language along with them, and then for the next 300 years, that was the language of power in England, which means a staggering chunk of the English language, well over a third of it, in fact, comes straight from French. So words like décision, musique, orange, silence, your brain has seen these a million times before from English. And the patterns run deep. Check this out. Words ending in T-I-O-N in English, like question, invitation, they're identical in French. Attention, question, invitation. Words ending in I-B-L-E, possible, terrible, horrible. And these aren't even weird ones, they're ordinary useful words. Once your brain starts spotting these patterns between English and French, you can practice using a ton of what we call cognates, which are words that are recognizable between languages when you speak. They don't necessarily sound the same, but at least you can recognize them. And when you can recognize them, well, that makes speaking a lot easier later. Now, quick warning before you get too confident, French does have what we call faux amis or false friends. These are words that look familiar, like the ones I showed you before, but actually mean something completely different. So words like sympathique, does that mean sympathetic? No, it means nice. Envie, does that mean envy? No, it means desire. And chef is not a chef, it's actually your boss. So notwithstanding that, overall, the cognate goldmine is your single biggest head start in French. It is literally a free lunch and it's sitting right there waiting for you. And this whole idea that you can understand things easily without having to study them necessarily is at the heart of how we teach languages at Story Learning. See, at Story Learning, we teach languages through stories, and these stories that we write are chock full of these familiar words early on. So you learn a lot of words very easily from the very first page. And to give you a taste of exactly what this feels like, I've created a free short story for you in French. It's called Un vol mouvementé, and it comes with audio so that you can listen along as well. I walk you through how to use this story to learn French step by step, and you can even use the tips in this video to help you learn from the story. If you'd like to check this out, you can grab it by scanning the QR code on the screen, or there is a link in the description. Because once you follow a real story, even a short one, this stuff starts to click very, very quickly. Right, so you can recognize lots of French words, but what happens when you need to say something out loud, speak? Because here's the problem. French looks one way and then sounds completely different. Take a simple word that you might know.
Bonjour! 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 Bonjour!
So this French word that we all know looks a lot like bonjour, said in my best French accent, but of course that's not at all how it sounds when French people say it. And all the other little French words you've probably already heard, beaucoup, s'il vous plaît, monsieur. Have you ever tried to write them down? Half of these letters literally don't show up when people speak. And then you start noticing the silent letter situation, which is all over the language. Words like vous, de, petit, toujours, lots of letters in there that are simply not pronounced. And if you've ever wondered why, well, it's because in the old days, French was actually pronounced this way.
Or how about this word? I mean, really? Beau? Come on, it looks like it should be pronounced something like beau. Well, guess what? That's how it used to be pronounced in Old French. Beau.
I'll save that fun story for another video, but the fact remains, written and spoken French are really two different animals. And that's why if you learn French by only reading it at first, you build a version of it in your head that falls apart the second someone actually talks to you. And I hate to say it, but they're not going to understand you either.
Bonjour, vous avez choisi? Pour moi, le vent blanc. Un vent blond. Le vent blanc. Un vent blond. Un vent blond, c'est quoi? C'est un cocktail? Le vent blanc. Le vent rouge. Le vent blanc. Ah, un vin blanc.
So even those 10,000 cognates in your brain will confuse a French person if you say them wrong. But that's why we're here, and I have some tricks for those exact sounds that she is making. First, you've got to ignore the way that words are written. Forget the spelling and focus on the sound. A lot of the time when people get pronunciation wrong, it's because they're kind of anchored to the way that something is written down on the page, and that interferes with the way they try and say it. The easiest way to get around that is just by focusing on the sounds that you hear and having the confidence to focus on the sounds you hear and forget how something is written. Because in French, spelling honestly just doesn't help you that much anyway. My friend Stefano, whose French is fantastic, used to say to himself, I don't care how you write it, that's just what it's called. And this worked really well for him. So first you want to get your ears around real spoken French as early as possible. Easiest way to do this is when you're reading anything, listen to the audio at the same time. But also, if you've got access to French people, use that too. Even something as simple as finding a French-speaking cafe to sit in and just listen to people talking and ordering and chatting. That really helps. And then when you're alone, just listen some more.
Imaginez, vous pouvez vous asseoir dans une pièce et écouter une conversation entre trois Français. Trois manières de parler différentes, trois façons d'interagir aussi.
There are all sorts of French podcasts and channels like this one, so make the most of them. And then zoom in on a few tricky sounds and drill those. There are specific sounds in French that you do need to focus on. The three nasal sounds, as in on, on. Bon, vin, bon. They might sound similar to you, they're different in French. If you can nail these, you will immediately sound more French. And here's the trick, the sound doesn't come out of your mouth, it goes through your nose. So instead of finishing the vowel like in English, you kind of hold it and let it hum in your nose. Try this, take the words vent, vin, vent. If I hold my hand to my mouth and say that, I shouldn't have any breath, I shouldn't feel any breath coming out of my mouth at all. Vent, vin, vent. And that's because you feel it up here instead, in your nose. And this is what's happening. You're training your ear and your mouth to get used to a new set of sounds. It's weird at first, but if you focus on it for a little while, you very quickly get used to it. Remember that restaurant skit from earlier? Le vin blanc, un vin blanc. If you make the wrong vowel sound, you're ordering a blonde wind instead of wine. It's quite funny, but trust me, everyone mixes these up at first. And don't listen to my pronunciation, go and listen to the pronunciation of a real French person. So yeah, if you want to understand and be understood, make sure you can recognize and produce those nasal sounds. Of course, then comes the awkward bit when you actually try to say something.
Ça te dit de manger une pizza ce soir? Tu peux venir si ça te dit.
You probably think that speaking French means constructing sentences manually in your head, finding the verb, fixing the ending, moving everything into the right place, and hoping that this still makes sense by the time it comes out of your mouth. In French, that's pretty painful because it doesn't follow the logic of English. If you translate word for word, it doesn't make sense. So try not to build sentences and construct them, and instead steal them. Grab whole ready-made chunks of real French and just download them into your brain without questioning too much. Why is that the way it is? It just is. And use those chunks, those phrases as they are. We don't want to be assembling and fixing things. We can just take things that we've heard before and drop them straight into conversation. In French, you get a lot of kind of bitty phrases of very short words glued together, like the phrase ça te dit, meaning do you fancy doing something? Ça te dit d'aller prendre un verre ce soir? Do you fancy going for a drink tonight? If you try to translate this word for word, like you wrap yourself in knots. Instead, just accept that this is the phrase that you say meaning fancy doing something. Ça te dit. Don't need to analyze it, just accept it. And then you can use it in all different kinds of situations. Ça te dit d'aller marcher? Do you feel like going for a walk? This is a kind of concept or an attitude or a behavior almost in language learning, which means like, I don't necessarily understand every single bit of this, but I know what the whole thing means. And so it's enough for me to just adopt that and use it, and it will get the job done. If you can live with this kind of gray area, it helps you make a lot of progress a lot faster. You're not building anything from scratch here. You're taking chunks of French exactly as it's used by native speakers and then using it yourself, adding your own detail. If you learn a whole bunch of little fixed phrases like this, you can say a lot of things, not perfectly, but enough to get words out of your mouth. And this is the turning point, because once you can say something, the only question left is, well, what do you actually want to talk about? See, that's why people can get stuck, strangely. You've got the words, you've got a few phrases, and then someone says to you, say something in French, dis quelque chose en français, and your mind just empties. You've got nothing, and all you can think of is some weird line once saw in a language learning app.
The mouse is underneath the table. La souris est en dessous de la table. The other line was, the cat is on the chair. Le chat est sur la chaise. Slightly more easy to fit in. And the monkey is on the branch. Le singe est sur la branche. Very difficult to get into a conversation.
Yeah, not your finest moment, but that's not because you don't know French, it's because you don't know your French yet, the stuff that you actually want to talk about in your own real everyday life. Most courses tend to teach you this kind of generic French, how to buy stuff, order food, name all the animals in the world. Nice, neat little situations so that you can handle a perfect little cafe moment or a trip to the zoo or whatever from some French Netflix. But not to actually say the things that matter to you in your life, which might be to say that, this weekend I just laid in a hammock and read a book with a beer in my hand, messing about with a new barbecue. Maybe that's the thing you want to say, but you don't have the words for that. So flip it. Start with what you actually do or want to talk about every day, whatever that is for you, your weird hammock, horizontal beer drinking habits. If it comes up in your life, it belongs in your French right from the beginning, because once you can talk about your life, everything else gets easy. But at some point, the conversation just can't be about your life and what you did in your hammock on Saturday. So here's a nice little shortcut that saves you from one of the most annoying things in French, asking French questions. Because if you've ever looked this up, you'll see all this stuff about flipping the verb and changing the word order, adding hyphens, and honestly, you don't need to know any of that stuff. There are two dead simple ways to ask a question in French. First, just add the short phrase est-ce que onto the beginning. That's it. You take any normal sentence and you stick est-ce que at the front and it becomes a question. So take the phrase, for example, tu veux boire quelque chose? You want something to drink. Tu veux boire quelque chose? At the beginning of that, simply add on est-ce que tu veux boire quelque chose? Do you want something to drink? That's it. Changed anything, we're not flipping anything around, we're just adding a little chunk on the beginning. And here's the even easier version. You don't even change anything at all. You don't even need to add that est-ce que at the beginning. You can just raise your voice at the end to signify a question. Tu veux boire quelque chose? Up at the end, exact same sentence, but it's a question. This doesn't work so well in English, works really well in French. That's it. So this is just an example of how instead of worrying about grammar rules, you've got a couple of simple options that get the job done. Add a couple of words or just change the intonation in your voice and suddenly you can ask pretty much anything you need. Now, you might have noticed I haven't said anything about verbs yet. So this one's for everyone who's ever opened one of those huge, great French verb charts and then promptly slammed it shut again. See this kind of thing here? If you look at that, you see about 40 different verb endings and just want to give up on speaking altogether. I get that. French verbs have a reputation for being complicated, maybe even a nightmare, all those tables, those verb endings. But here's the thing, you don't need any of that to get started because there are 4 little phrases in French that let you say almost anything without changing a single ending. And here they are. Je veux, I want. Je peux, I can. Je dois, I have to. And je vais, I'm going to. Think of them as your 4-verb mini engine to get you started. And then anytime you're struggling to say anything, just grab one of these 4 and then add the action that you want to do at the end. So, je veux dîner. I want to have dinner. Je veux danser. I want to dance. Je peux venir. I can come. Je dois travailler plus tard. I have to work later. Je vais commander. I'm going to order. This is perfectly good French here. It's real French, stuff that you'd actually say. And that last one, je vais, is a bit of a sneaky bonus because it can, some of the time, replace the entire future tense. saying what is going to happen, saying your intentions. This is how French people talk about the future. They don't even need to worry about learning the actual future tense yet. What I want you to notice here is how while everyone else is sat memorizing every verb table under the sun, there are a small number of phrases, highly useful phrases that you can learn and say 90% of what you want to say right from the beginning. There are shortcuts through languages that allow you to get further faster without having to memorize everything right at the beginning. And after all of that, I asked our French learners at Story Learning what trips them up the most, and the answer was unanimous.
Trop lourd, du coup je voulais dire, est-ce que tu pourrais me passer une clope parce que ça fait 15 minutes que j'ai pas fumé et je suis en train de devenir ouf sur ma nicotine.
Ouais, du coup, t'as fait quoi ce week-end?
Moi je suis allé voir un film et puis après je suis allé au Keupa. Et toi?
Ah, tranquille, moi je suis allé voir des potos, tu vois, on a fait une petite bouffe, un sushi, tu vois. T'as tellement le sushi dans ta tête?
Ouais, ça devait être d'art.
Bah, franchement, c'était incroyable, trop lourd.
It's so hard to follow a native French speaker. To an English speaker who's new to this, it can feel like French people are actually just taking the mickey, they're just playing tricks on you. They're having you on because the sounds they make don't match a thing that you've learned. Very common experience for language learners. And I'm not talking about something simple like un vin blanc. I mean real life. Someone speaks to you on the street and it sounds like half of the sentence literally disappeared and you're just standing there awkwardly thinking, what am I missing here? I've heard students saying French is so fast it sounds like one continuous word. But the truth is, French doesn't actually sound fast because it is fast. It sounds fast because your brain can't catch where one word ends and the next begins. Because the thing is, in real speech, French words get shortened and squashed together. And this isn't just French, this happens in English and every other language as well. You just don't know enough French yet to be able to tell when words are getting squashed together and to be able to pick them apart. That comes with time. So phrases like je ne sais pas, one of the first phrases you're going to learn in French, I don't know. Je ne sais pas comes out as je sais pas, squashing 4 words together into just like 2 very quick sounds.
Je ne sais pas, je sais pas, je sais pas, je sais pas.
Does she even say the ne, as in je ne? Doesn't even say it, and you'll hear this in almost every single conversation. So breathe. This is normal. French really does sound like this. Now here's the trick. Don't try to worry about hearing and picking apart every word. Sure, you want to. You want to understand everything. You want to catch every detail. But it's much more practical to train your ear to recognize the short version, recognize the meaning of what's being said without having to pick apart all the individual words. And with things like je sais pas, after hearing this a few times, your brain starts to connect the dots. And instead of these 4 words that you're used to reading on the page, it's just a thing that is said. You hear it, you understand what it means, and you move on. I still remember when French stopped sounding like one long blur to me. It's a very specific moment in time when I was learning the language, and it just got so much easier after that. You cannot know in advance when that's going to happen for you, but by far the best way to get to that stage is by moving through the language, not over-studying and exposing yourself to as much French as possible. So that's really the key. Expose yourself to as much real French as possible. Move it away from being this weird foreign thing that you don't understand to something that's familiar. And we get there by spending as much time as possible in the company of the language. Movies, podcasts, YouTube, anything with native speakers talking naturally. And whenever you can, use the subtitles or transcripts so that your brain starts linking blurred sounds to real words. In my books of French, which I have for beginners and for intermediate learners, they all come with the audio so you can read and listen along at the same time. Just one of many ways to immerse yourself. A really good way to sharpen this skill can be in short, repetitive bursts. Something I like to do is to take one line of real French audio, it could be from YouTube, from an audiobook, whatever. Play that line over a few times so that you can listen to it, and then read the transcript along with it. So you start by testing yourself with the audio, how much can I pick apart, and then you read along at the same time to actually read what has actually been said. So we are gradually deciphering what's been said in the audio, going over it again and again and again until you can identify all the separate parts. That's exactly why the free French story that I'm giving you in this video, link in the description, helps so much, because you're hearing natural spoken French while following along with the text at the same time so you can read what's being said. If you want to go deeper than just a short story, well, here's a quick bonus for you. Watch real French people being funny. We've put together a fun course called French with TV that's built around a proper French comedy, un gars, une fille. It's just a couple messing about in everyday life, all in fast, natural French. You'll watch a short episode and then our teacher walks you through exactly what's actually just happened. The jokes, the slang, the fast bits that you missed. Give it a month and I promise fast French will no longer be scary, and it's really going to help you when it comes to natural speaking and sounding natural. Again, link in the description for that course. There's just one thing left to do now, and that is to figure out how you're going to make French a part of your everyday life. Because all the cheat codes in the world won't help you if you don't actually use them. And that's why you should watch my next video, where I'll show you a dead simple system for learning any language, even if you've only got 15 minutes in a day. Go and watch that right now.